My name's James Gillies and I work as the Head of Security Pre-Sales for Logicalis UK and Ireland, and I have worked for Logicalis in aggregate for nearly 10 years now. XDR, or also known as Extended Detection and Response, what you're doing is you're going beyond just the endpoints, which would traditionally be known as EDR, so endpoint detection and response. You're taking the concept of EDR, which, as I say, is at the endpoints, which, let's face it, it's the human beings. It's the workstations, it's the servers, it's typically where the human beings are at. And then extending that concept out to other parts of the security infrastructure. Identities, SaaS applications, cloud workloads, documents, websites, links, all the extra stuff that users will interact with and that needs to be detected and can form part of a breach. As part of a wider security ecosystem, you'll be looking at SIEM platforms as well, so security information and event management platforms. And the way that a SIEM works is it's the great big bucket that you send all of your security telemetry to for all these different devices that you may have in your environment. Every customer is different, every combination of tools is different, but none of those tools talk to each other. And that's what a SIEM does. It takes all of those logs from all of the different systems and correlates them all together. A combination of a SIEM, EDR, XDR, it kind of provides that kind of holy trinity, if you like, for visibility, correlation and investigation. The idea with XDR is where I mentioned it's looking at taking the additional data sources or components of your IT security infrastructure and bringing them together into a holistic view. That relies on seamless integration between those different components. In an effective XDR solution, you're needing visibility across all the different types of data source, be it identities, firewalls, and they don't want to displace that to make their EDR or XDR platform effective. So what you're looking for is that holistic visibility across all the different vendors, and by providing that seamless integration, you increase your chances of detecting something that may be occurring on the network. The idea with XDR is that you're supposed to be able to integrate seamlessly. In a best case scenario, product A and product B will plug into platform C, essentially as a tick box exercise. That's wonderful. But they'll use either native integrations, which are provided by the vendor, which is growing all the time, and it's almost like a mini arms race between the different vendors. How many platforms, how many third parties can we support? And that's fantastic for customers, because whilst every customer is different, there is going to be a lot of commonality between organisations A, B and C. We're looking for APIs. Can we push data, can we pull data between those platforms and send them onto the XDR or the SIEM? What other support for industry standard protocols are there so that maybe a more traditional security tool using something like syslog can still send that data, that logging data that can be passed and analysed by analysts using analytics rules. So we have things called advanced persistent threats. So an advanced persistent threat is where a threat actor establishes a foothold in the organisation, typically on the end user's endpoint, because they've been compromised through a phishing attack, for example. And you're wanting to be able to detect those so-called low and slow attacks which an advanced persistent threat would be capable of. XDR, where you have sensors working in all of the different areas of the infrastructure, you've got more chance of detecting that. Malware, still from traditional antivirus. Worst case scenario, ransomware. This is where the threat actor essentially compromises the network into such a position that the business is no longer able to operate. And when I say that, I mean, employees coming into the office and there's a post-it note sat on their desktop saying you can't log in. It's the one thing that will keep CTOs up at night and CISOs up at night. You know, what's the chances of us being hit by ransomware? Phishing attacks, again, I've sort of mentioned, where XDR will be looking at email as well. Then you may have Alice, who is disgruntled. She didn't get the promotion that she wanted and decides, or is being coerced into stealing company data. So at that point, Alice unfortunately becomes an insider threat. And an insider threat can be just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, than a threat actor, an external threat actor, because they're already on the network. They've already got privilege to data. Zero-day exploits is another thing that you'd be wanting to stop with XDR. The attacker is taking advantage of something. It's almost like a sucker punch, because you thought you were all patched and up to date, and you were. You could be 100% patched, but there may still be a vulnerability that the hacker community or the threat actor community has discovered, and they use against you before you've even had a chance to improve your defences. And then probably one of the other main things you'd be looking for with an XDR platform, detecting something called lateral movement. So lateral movement is whereby your threat actor has established a foothold on the endpoint. Let's say I'm the one that's become compromised. I may spend days, weeks or months inside of the network understanding where all the servers are, where the data is, how I'm going to get the data out of the network and so on. So as part of those exercises, I need to move around the network. And the act of moving or hopping from one machine to the next to get my increased privileges or get access to that data is known as lateral movement. So XDR is talking about the tooling that you can have in place to be able to detect various different types of threats, because organizations accept that something will happen and they're worried about the gaps that they have in their visibility. But it's more than that. So it's not just about the technology, it's also the process and the people. So if we talk about the challenges that organizations face, they're very common. Threat actors work 24 hours a day, organizations typically don't. How XDR relates to 24/7 monitoring and threat detection, this is where Logicalis comes into its own with our SOC security managed services. XDR lends itself to 24/7 monitoring brilliantly because of the visibility that it gives. Like I've mentioned earlier, we're not just firing a single alert out of an antivirus platform. That's no good to man or beast, because it's already happened. It doesn't tell you anything else that's going on, and certainly doesn't help answer the questions that the business will ask. What happened? Why did it happen? Who did it affect? How far did it go? How are we going to fix it, and how do we prevent it from happening next time? We're able to work with the customer to help answer those questions up front, oftentimes before anything needs to happen, or ideally, we can answer those questions in the first hit. By the way, we've seen this is what was going on, here's how we've dealt with it, and here's some advice on perhaps how we can prevent it happening in future. So it's a much more targeted and actionable intelligence that we're able to provide as part of a 24/7 service. The buzzwords of 2024 and 2023, and certainly going into 2025, AI and machine learning before it. Machine learning is based on an algorithm that's already been built. It is able to effectively detect through patterns and anomalies in the data that you throw at it. So there's similar things but work in different ways. Machine learning has been part of cybersecurity platforms for a long time. AI, on the other hand, this is where we bring in the capabilities to perform tasks that are more abstract, to assist the human in performing activities that a human would otherwise have to do, so a SOC analyst, that may be mundane, certainly repetitive, and could take a human being hours, days, or even weeks. So with AI, what you're looking to do is to kind of supercharge the human being's efforts so that those mundane tasks are carried out rapidly, and almost helping the human answer the questions that they want to be able to answer in context with the investigation. AI can do that for you, in a matter of minutes, if not seconds. Everyone loves a dashboard. Pie charts and bar charts, you're going to want to have some form of near real-time visibility as to what's going on in the estate. The board in an organisation, they're not going to care about the low-level numbers. They don't, whether it's this technology, whether it's this platform, unless there's a story to go with it which results in a happy ending. They want to know what's our risk, what's our risk posture. So with a real-time dashboard, you're drawn to understanding where are the areas that you need to focus on. Where am I exposed? Where do I need to apply my efforts? With regards to incidents, now as I made the example there, the board isn't going to care about the story or the low-level detail, but certainly other parts of the organisation will. Having that timeline, what happened, then what happened, then what happened, what did we do about it, and what was the outcome? So you're looking for those detailed incident reports. Well, the good thing is that the XDR was designed from the ground up to handle response and remediation. Most things that you see in XDR is after it's happened, therefore it's potentially post-breach or post-exploit. So if it's already happened, how do we fix it? Well, the fix is the remediation. What do we have to do right now to repair the damage? And/or what do we need to do to stop that happening again? That all comes under remediation. Response is knowing about it in the first place, knowing enough about it to be able to then work out what the remediation is. So the response and the remediation goes hand in hand, and that forms part and parcel of an XDR platform.